So just quickly go through these steps once again for your reference. So last class we have constructed the FP tree and I was just discussing how to get the frequent patterns from the FP tree, right? So given a FP tree, we need to take each of the items from the header table from bottom to top one by one, and we need to get the prefix paths for each of the item, and that is called as the conditional pattern base. So consider conditional pattern base itself as a database and then construct the FP tree. That's what we are trying to do. This was the database given. First, we are scanning the database once, get the count of all the items, then arrange the items in descending order. We are calling it as list L. Rearrange the transactions based on the list L. Then use the rearrange transaction based list L to construct the FP tree. So this is the vertical lines represent the path of a particular transaction, and then this horizontal link is from header table to the corresponding item. Okay, I think I have completed this construction of the tree also, right? Whenever there is a node, you can simply increment the counter. There is no node, then you need to create a new node with the count as 1. And that's how we have inserted all these items one by one into our FP tree. And this was our FP tree. Okay, so from here we need to generate the frequent items. So we are taking the items one by one from the bottom of the header table. So first item is 5. So extract the paths which leads to this 5. For example, here it is from the root we have 2, then 1, and then we are coming to this 5. So 2, 1, 5. One more path is 2, 1, 3, 5. Okay, they are the only two things that I shown you in this diagram. Of course, it is not a conditional pattern. It is just I'm extracting the part from the complete tree so that you are able to understand. These are the two paths which are leading to 5. So from this now we need to get all the prefix, that is the path which leads to 5, and we are supposed to construct what is called as a conditional pattern base. And this is the conditional pattern base. You can see here 2 times, 1, 2 times, and 3, 1 time. Now how am I getting these counts? So here you can see 5 equal to 1. It means count of 5 is 1. 5 occur in this path only once. So what is the path? It is 2, 1, and 5. So because 5 is 1, when you construct the conditional pattern base, you need to consider 2 with the count 1 and 1 with the count 1. Okay, because the count of 5 is 1 here. 2 and 1 are coming exactly one time along with 5 in this path. So 2, 1, 1, 1. Then one more path to 5 is 2, 1, 3. So already we have 2, isn't it? So now increment its count. 2 coming 2 times, 1, 2 times, and then 3, 1 times, and then this 5. That's what I have written here. This is called as the conditional pattern base. 2, 1, 5 are not, because these are the prefix paths that are leading to 5. Okay, so 2, 1, 5, then 2, 1, 3, 5. They are the only two paths. Now from this we can construct conditional frequent pattern tree. And this is the conditional frequent pattern tree for item 5. 2 occurring 2 times, 1 occurring 2 times. I'll just go back and I'll tell you here. So as I told, you can consider this conditional pattern base as a database. Fine. And then construct the conditional frequent pattern. Suppose if I consider this as the database, let me read the transaction. How do I read the transaction? It is 2 one time, then 1 time, right? That is one transaction which is coming with the 5. So conditional FP tree also will be having 2 and 1. Similarly, one more time you can see here 2, 1, and 3. So you need to observe here it is just a conditional pattern base. Next slide we are showing conditional FP tree. FP tree means frequent pattern. So it cannot contain infrequent items. If you observe here, the support threshold was 2 here, and the count of 3 is 1. So 3 cannot be a part of conditional FP3 for the item 5. Hence, we have only these two items in the conditional pattern tree. So this is the conditional pattern tree. Earlier, we constructed FP3 for the entire database. Now you are trying to construct FP3 for the pattern base, conditional pattern base for a given item. So once we have FP3, now you can form all possible combinations with the item 5. For example, here we know that these are the prefix paths of the item 5, 2, 1 and 5. So we know that 2, 1. So it means all possible sizes. Here we are not using a priori self join. Okay. So 2 and 5 can give us a 2 item set, 2 and 5, 2 times. Then 1 and 5 can come together 2 times. These are the only possible item sets of size 2, 2, 5 and 1, 5. Then look for the 3 item set. So 2, 1, 5. So these are the only frequent patterns that could be generated by this conditional FP3. So that's how we are avoiding usage of the repetitive, usage of self-join of a priori, and also no need to scan the database many times to get these frequent patterns. From that tree itself, it is possible for us to get all possible combinations which are frequent patterns. Suppose if you find it difficult to write a tree like this, then I also shown you one more method. You just write down all the prefix paths for a given item. So for the 5, as I told you, they are the 2 paths, right? 2, 1, 5 and 2, 1, 3, 5. They are the only 2 paths in our FP tree. So consider each of the prefix paths one by one. So first one is 2, 1, 5. So prefix path of this is 2, 1. So prefix path is 2, 1, right? Then for this, the prefix path is 2, 1, 3. And have written the count as 1. Why count as 1? Because in the FP tree, if you observe, the 5 in the tree appears 2 times. There are 2 nodes with the item 5 and the count 1. So in this path, they are appearing along with 5 one time. Along this path, these items are coming one time along with this item 5. So this is what is called as conditional pattern base, and the same thing I had shown you in a diagrammatically. So from this conditional pattern, we can construct the conditional FP3. Otherwise, what you can do is, you can take these prefix paths one by one like this. Let us start from the first one, 2, 1, and write down all possible combinations with the item 5. So 2, 5, 1, 5 and 2, 1, 5. They are the only possible combinations with the count 1. Next, consider the next prefix path, that is 2, 1, 3. So patterns for 2, 1, 3. What are the patterns? It could be 2, 5, it could be 1, 5, it could be 3, 5. Next, 3 item set. 2, 1, 5, 2, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. Next, 4 item set, that is 2, 1, 3, 5. So basically for this prefix path, we consider the item 5 and we are trying to come up with all possible item sets of different sizes, whatever is possible. You can see these are the only 3 items of size 2 which are possible here. 2, 5, 1, 5 and 3, 5. Similarly, next is 3 items. So 2, 1 with 5 or 2 and 3 with 5 or 1 and 3 with 5. And they are the only possible 3 item sets. Next, after 3, 4 item set. So 2, 1, 3, 5. So there are no other possible ways of generating any of the item sets. So once you do this for each of the, here we have 2 prefix paths. So we are done for 2 paths. Similarly, whatever is the number of prefix paths you are having, for all those prefix paths, we can write the patterns like this. Fine. So once you write the patterns like this, you look for the patterns which satisfy the minimum support threshold. So minimum support threshold here in this example is 2. So if you can see here 2, 5 with the count 1, and the same pattern is also here with the count 1. So 2, 5 and 2, 5, right? So and if you combine them, because they are the same patterns, count, if you add these two, you will be getting it as 2. So because minimum threshold is 2, we can consider 2 and 5 as the one of the frequent patterns. Similarly, you can see 1, 5 is appearing here and here in both prefix path, the same pattern is there. And if you sum up these two, you'll be getting again 2. So we can say 1, 5 is a frequent pattern. Then if you come to this 3, 5, the count of 3, 5 is 1 and 3, 5 is not present here. It means the count of 3, 5 overall is 1 and 1 is less than threshold. So 3, 5 cannot be a frequent item. Then 2, 1, 5 is there both the places. So count is 2, 2, 1, 5 is a frequent item. Remaining things, that is 2, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5 and 2, 1, 3, 5. The count is 1, not satisfying the minimum support threshold. So they cannot be frequent. So finally our frequent patterns are 2, 5, 1, 5 and 2, 1, 5. Okay. This is the same answer we are getting. I'll just go back to previous slide. You can see here, right? The same answer we are getting here also. So either you can use this method or you can write like this also. It's your wish. Any one of the method you can follow to find the frequent pattern. First is the conditional pattern base, then the conditional FP tree, which gives you the frequent pattern. Similarly, next consider the item 4. You please look into your notebook what are the FP tree you have taken down in the last class. So item 4 coming with the item 2 and 4. So this is the conditional FP tree for 4 and the frequent pattern, because we have only one item, we can have only one frequent pattern 2, 4 with the count 2. So this is the frequent pattern 2, 4. And again, if you want to avoid writing this like this, you need to write down the prefix paths of this 4. This is one prefix path. Please observe your FP tree. There are two paths which leads to this item 4, right? 2, 4 with the count of 4 as 1. Then 2, 1, 4 with the count of 4 as 1. Also note that this count we are writing based on the count of the item which we are considering. Here the item 4 is being considering, and in both the paths the count of 4 is 1. So same thing we are writing here also. Now consider the path 2. So pattern is 2, 4 with the count 1. Then consider the second prefix path, that is 2, 1. What are the patterns for 2, 1? It is 2, 4, 1, 4 and 2, 1, 4, right? 2, 4, 1, 4, 2, 1, 4. Then again these are the possible patterns for these two prefix paths. Now look for the patterns which satisfy the minimum threshold. So we have only one pattern 2, 4 with the count 2. Hence it becomes our frequent pattern. Is it clear? Any doubts, anyone? So we are referring to the item header table of the FP tree from the bottom up. Take the items one by one. For each item, look for its path and then consider all the prefix paths individually. For each prefix path, come up with all possible combinations with that item which we are considering. So once we are able to get the pattern for all the prefix paths, overall you consider all these patterns. Whichever the patterns they are satisfying the minimum support threshold, they will be our frequent patterns. So after 4, the next item is 3 in our FP tree, right? So this is the conditional FP tree I am showing you here. And the frequent patterns are 2 with 3, then 1 with 3, then 2, 1 with 3. Okay, these are the frequent patterns. Again, I'll show you the other method also. Maybe to begin with, this method may be useful for you. Once you solve some 1 or 2 problems on your own, once you understand the concept, then maybe you can write the tree. Okay, so from the FP tree, the prefix path for the item 3, there are 3 paths: 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, 1, 3. And also you can note in your tree the count for this 3. If you look into the path 2, 1, I'll just go back to the FP tree quickly to show you this item 3. You can see this is item 3, right? What are the paths? 2, 1, 3. You can see the count of 3 is 2. Hence, in the prefix, I am writing 2 and 1 with the count 2. Fine. Next you can see 3 is here, it is under 2, it means 2 and 3. So next prefix is 2 with the count 2, because here count of 3 is 2. Similarly, one more path that leads to 3 is 1, 1, 3. So I'm writing 1 with the count 2. Why? Because the count of 3 is 2 here. If you observe for 5, the count was 1. So we have taken it as 1. Similarly, for 4 also it was 1. So we have taken it as 1. So whatever is the count associated along the path, same count we are supposed to take. So for the 3 it is 2, 1 with 2 times, then 2, 2 times, then 1, 2 times. They are the 3 prefix paths for the item 3. Okay. Yeah. So 2, 1, 2 and 1. All the 3 prefix paths with the respective count. Now again you consider each of the prefix paths one by one, and as usual generate the patterns in combination with the item 3. So 2, 3, then we can have 1, 3, then we can have 2, 1, 3. They are the only possible item sets of size 2 and size 3, all with the count 2. Next, consider the next prefix, that is 2. We have only one item. So only possible pattern here is 2, 3 with the count 2. Similarly, the last one also we have only one item. So only possible thing is 1, 3 with the count 2. So now we are done with all the 3 prefix paths here. Now you see what are all the frequent items. So you can see here 2, 3 with the count 2, 2, 3 with the count 2. If you sum up, you will be getting the count as 4. Item 2, 3 with a count as 4. It is greater than 2, hence 2, 3 is a frequent item set. Similarly, 1, 3 with a count 2 here, then 1, 3 with a count 2 here. It means the count of 1, 3 is together it is 4, and hence the pattern 1, 3 is also frequent. Then 2, 1, 3, though it is occurring only once in this path, 2, 1, 3 is not present in the other 2 prefix path, but here itself you can see the count is 2. So 2 is equal to our threshold, because minimum support itself is 2. Because it is satisfying the minimum support threshold, it is also a frequent pattern. So all of these are frequent patterns. 2, 3 with the count 4, then 1, 3 with the count 4, then 2, 1, 3 with the count 1. These are all the frequent pattern. It's the same example given from Hannon Camber. Same example I'm explaining you. It is a third class where we are discussing FP3. Okay, so please read Hannon Camber once for the explanation of the FP3, and also try to do on your own once. Fine. So this is about the item 3. Next, we have item 1 with only one path, 2. So prefix path is 2. Only possible combination is 2 and 1 with the count 4. And this is frequent because it is satisfying the minimum support threshold. Now we are done with all the items, isn't it? If you consider your FP3, first it is from the bottom up, it is 5, 4, okay, but we are not taking the item 2. Why? Item 2 is the first item and it is exactly below the root. It is not having any other prefix path. There are no other nodes which lead to this item 2. So we cannot take it. If you take it also, you can see that there are no prefix path for this. Because there is no prefix path, we cannot construct any patterns here. So except the first item, all other items we are able to get the frequent patterns. The final answer is you combine all the frequent patterns. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this we got from our first scan of database, right? Based on this only we generated the list here. So that first scan gives us all the frequent items of size 1. Then remaining items we are able to get using the conditional, using our pattern based and conditional FP tree for each of the item. So if you combine them together, this is the final frequent item sets. So any doubts? FP3? Okay. If no doubts, let me continue. So here I have given you the summary. Again, this is in the textbook also. Please note that you cannot directly write the summary because as I am telling you, every step carries marks. You may be knowing many things or you may be intelligent enough to do the calculations or the steps in your mind. Okay, but unfortunately we cannot look inside your mind and we cannot give the marks for that. The marks can be given for whatever is written on your answer sheet. So all the detailed steps are required. At the end, this is the summary. So you can see these are the conditional pattern base for each of the items 5, 4, 3 and 1. Similarly, this is the conditional FP tree and these are the respective frequent patterns. So first you try using prefix paths and then you try to write in a tree format. So choice is left to you. You can use any one of the methods. But you should have the conditional pattern base as well as the conditional FP tree because it is time consuming to write the tree many times in the PPT. For the first item 5, I have shown you conditional pattern base as well as the conditional FP tree. For the remaining items, I had directly shown you the conditional FP tree. I did not draw conditional pattern base once again, okay? But you need to draw it similar to this. This is the exercise problem. You can take down this problem. I'll give you a few minutes to take down the problem. These are the transaction IDs. These are the items. Once you get the count of all the items, we need to arrange them based on the descending order of their frequency. That is our list L written here. And also I told you that whenever the two items are having same support, you need to arrange them based on their alphabetical order, right? So I'm not writing F first, C and then followed by F. Similar here you can see A followed by F, then M followed by P. So though all the four are having the same support, we have arranged these items in a chronological order A, B, M followed by P at the end. And based on this L, this is the rearrangement of the database. You can see that in the previous example, all the 5 items were frequent. So we had all the items. So in this example, if you observe, you can see here CF item I is not here because item I is not frequent, right? This is the items based on the list L. So this contains only the frequent one items. Items which are not frequent would not be a part of this transactions. This is the transaction arranged based on the list L. And the minimum support here given is 3. You can third transaction, so many items here, but we are ending up with only 2 items because we know that the other items that are present in the third transaction are not part of this list yet. So we are not at all taking them into consideration. This is just to show you that whenever the items are not frequent, that cannot be a part of our FP tree because F itself is a frequent. So item which is not frequent cannot be a part of FP tree. And again I'm emphasizing, please remember this part. FP tree, whenever the support count of more than one item is same, those items we are arranging in a chronological order. Otherwise, each one of you would be ending up with a different kinds of FP trees. No need to take down these steps, it's already been given to you earlier. You can take down only the problem. And anyway, if you want, you can take the list here. Remaining things you can write this afterwards. And of course, note down the minimum support threshold, that is 3. Over. Did you note down this problem? This is what I'm telling you. No response. At least one person can tell me whether you have taken down this problem or not. Okay. So please solve that. Okay. So before solving the exercise problem, try to solve the problem which we have discussed in the class. Same problem is there in Anand Camber also. But of course, he has not shown all the steps in detail, whereas I have discussed all the steps in detail. That's about the FP tree. Then the next and the last algorithm in this chapter is what is called as pattern count tree. Of course, it is not there in both the textbook, but it is a part of the syllabus. So I have referred to the paper where this was presented. So please listen to me carefully and try to understand this. Okay. It is proposed by Professor Anantnarayan VS. He is a professor at NITK and he did his PhD at IISc. So during his PhD, he had proposed to this particular algorithm, and he is my PhD guide also. I also did my PhD from NITK only. Okay. So PC tree, if we start from the beginning, we started with the a priori, right? We know the limitations of a priori algorithm. So there are many number of scans are required and it's a time consuming to generate all possible uh, candidate sets. Too many candidate sets we need to generate. Because the number of candidates are more, the time taken to get their support count in reading the transaction is also more. It's a time consuming process. And then the other algorithm was partitioning algorithm. The concept is if you have the large database, it cannot be fit into memory, then you can partition the database logically, and each of the partitions you can bring it to memory and apply the a priori. That was the concept of the improvement on using the partitioning algorithm. Then we discussed about the pincer search, right? Because we know that a priori uses the level wise or bottom up search. So it's only one direction we are trying to search for the candidate items and thereby frequent item sets. So they thought, why to go for bottom-up approach, why not top-down? And when they tried top-down, again it's the same as bottom-up, okay? So then they thought, okay, only bottom-up or only top-down approach is not sufficient. Let us try both the direction together, bi-directional. So that's how the concept of pincer search came into existence. So they are trying for bi-directional search. So we have the candidate item set and the frequent item set C and L as usual in the a priori. For the top-down approach, they are using the different notations MFCS and MFS. MFCS is nothing but similar to your C and MFS is similar to your L. Okay, in the top-down approach, MFCS means it contains the candidate items and MFS contains the frequent item sets. So whatever the result, intermediate or the information we are getting from the bottom-up approach, that we are using for the our top-down search. Similarly, the information what we are getting in the top-down approach, that we are using for our bottom-up. So this way we are trying to reduce the number of candidates. That was the pincer search. Then DIC, what they did is, anyway all the previous algorithm, they are based on a priori only. Only thing is they are trying to reduce the number of candidate item sets. So what they thought is, why to wait for complete scan to generate the new item sets of higher size. So what they thought is, you can break up your After reading certain set of transaction, you can consider one particular stop, one interval, okay? And at every interval, you are trying to find, is it possible to generate the new item sets of higher size? That was about the DIC. Then if you observe our FP tree, there is a completely different approach, right? All these were based on the a priori only. They were using the a priori self-join operation. So FPT, what the authors thought is, okay, because anyway, whatever is the algorithm, worst case, it may be equal to your a priori only, because we are generating all possible candidates using the self-join only. So they came up with a different idea wherein they're not at all using the a priori self-join operation, right? Just now we have seen. That's how FP3 has only exactly two scans of database. First time to get the support of individual items, and the second time when you are constructing your tree. So only exactly two times we are scanning the entire database. Then the PC tree is further improvisation on the FP tree. PC tree scans the database exactly once, only once. Okay, whatever may be the size of your database, PC tree is scanning our entire database only once. So it's a data structure. P stands for pattern, C stands for count here, pattern count tree. It's a data structure used to store all the patterns occurring in the tuples of a transaction database. The FP3, what we did is, FP3, what we did, we are considering the transaction, we are getting the count, and then only the frequent items we are considering to construct the FP3, isn't it? If any of the single item set, if it is not a frequent, we are not considering, it is not a part of our FP3, isn't it? Here it is not so. PC tree contains all the transactions, irrespective of whatever may be the support of individual item. All the items we are representing into one particular tree. Then coming to the node structure of this PC tree, as usual, we have the item name or item ID, then the count of this item, then the child pointer, then the sibling pointer. So this sibling pointer was not there in our FP tree. It's a new one which is added in this PC tree. So child pointer means, suppose if I consider a transaction, say A, B, C. I'm starting with A. So below A, I should have a node called as B. So B is a child of the node A. Similarly, below the node B, we will be having a node C. So C becomes the child of the node B. So that is what this child pointer refers to. Given a transaction, we write the items in the order by using, and we connect those items in a given transaction by child pointer. Then this sibling pointer. Sibling is the items which are having the same item as their parent are called as siblings, right? Sibling means any two items with the same parent. We can call them as a sibling. So this is the pointer which is used to point to the respective siblings. Now, how do we construct the PC tree? Please note down these steps. I'll give you 2 minutes. Note down the structure as well as the steps, because it is not there in the textbook. over.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So please remember this structure. Item name, the count of the item, child pointer, sibling pointer. Okay. How do we construct the PC tree? First is scan the database only once. Then pre-process each transaction to put items in lexicographical order. Again, please don't get confused here. In FP3, we are using the descending order of their frequency, but in PC3, it is lexicographical order. Okay. So consider each transaction and then order them lexicographical ascending order. This is very important. If you miss this step and if you do all the rest of the steps, the marks would be obviously 0. Any algorithm for that matter, if you do any mistake in the first step or in between step and whatever you are doing after that, the same error carries to the remaining steps also. So it should be very careful. Okay. So once you rewrite all the transaction, suppose if the given transaction itself is in lexicographical order, then fine, no need to do, but we need to check once, right, whether it is in this particular order or not. Then once we are ensured that the transactions are items within the transactions are all in the order, then take each transaction, consider the transaction one by one and start inserting in a tree. So suppose if already the transaction, that path, that prefix is existing, then we simply increment the count. If it is not existing, then we are going to create a new branch. Fine, it is very simple. Some of the important properties of PC tree, it's a complete representation of the database because all the items, irrespective of their whether they are meeting the support threshold or not, all items in a transaction and database are part of PC tree. Hence, it is a complete representation of a given database. It is a compact representation, obviously, because it is in a tree format. Then PC tree corresponding to a given database is unique. If you remember, during FP3 I told you that for a given support threshold, we have only one FP3. But suppose if I change that minimum support threshold, if I increase it or decrease it, then I may get that entirely a different FP3, though the database is same. Okay, for a given database, depending upon the support threshold, the FP3 what we get might vary. It may not be the same because it is based on the support threshold. Whereas PC tree, for construction of PC tree, we are not at all considering the support threshold. Hence, PC tree should be a unique. It cannot be a different one. These are the three properties. What are they? It is complete, it is compact, and it is unique. Fine. Then, what is our aim? Our final aim is to get all the frequent patterns, all the frequent items of different sizes, isn't it? So PC tree is improvisation upon FP tree. In that it is scanning the database only once. Now, once we get the PC tree, once we construct the PC tree, from the PC tree we need to read back our transactions. And once we get our transaction, using those transactions, we are constructing the FP tree. Okay. And once we have FP tree, using FP tree, we are determining all the frequent patterns. So once I have FP tree, all other steps remain same because already we have studied FP tree. It's the same concept. So here I'll just tell you how to construct the PC tree, and from the PC tree how to construct a FP tree. Okay. And also you might wonder that FP3 we said that it is scanning the database twice, and here I am saying PC3 scans the database only once, and I am also saying from the PC3 we are constructing the FP3. So you might think it is 3 times we are scanning. No, definitely not. I'll tell you how we are ensuring scanning the database only once. If you want, you can take down these steps also. I can give you 2 minutes. Please take down these steps. So reason I'm asking you to take down this is because I've referred the paper, and from that paper I have written these steps on my own in a very simplified manner. Okay. Over. Okay, let me explain you. I'll just go to the previous slide once. These are the steps to construct the PC tree. Fine. Read the database. As you read the transactions, arrange them in ascending order and then construct a tree. Put the transaction in the tree. So once we construct the PC tree, then we are supposed to follow these steps. As the database is scanned for constructing PC tree, maintain a table with items and count initialized to 0. Okay, first time when we are scanning the database, when you are reading the transactions one by one, so for each we need to maintain a table with the item name or item ID and the count. To begin with, count will be 0. Suppose let us say the first transaction is say some A, B, C. Then we increment the count of A, B and C from 0 to 1. If suppose second transaction is A, B, E, then what happens? Count of A becomes 2, count of B becomes 2, count of E is 1, like that. So each transaction as we read simultaneously increment the respective counters of those items. And as the transactions are read, we are incrementing the respective items, count of these items. Okay, then we use this table to create a list L. Why list L? Because now we have PC tree with us. From the PC tree, we are trying to construct the FP tree without scanning or reading the actual database. That is important. Okay. We know that if we want to create FP tree, we require what we are doing. We are reading the database, right? And then we are creating a list L based on the frequent item sets. Okay, so to create FP3 we require the list L. So here at the end of PC3 construction, we would be having all the items with their respective support count. So from this table, you take only those items which satisfy the minimum support threshold and then arrange those items in a descending order of their frequency, and that's how we are going to get our list L. Then once we have a list L, you construct a item header table. Item header table consists of list L, items in the descending order, then their respective count, and then the link, right? That is the item header table. Then create a null node. Then read the PC tree from the root. You start from the root of the PC tree and insert the transaction in FP tree. So from the root, we are traversing the PC tree, and whatever the transactions we are getting, those transactions we are inserting into our FP tree one by one. As we read the transaction, we insert the transaction into the FP tree. Again, remember that when you read the transaction and when you're inserting the transaction into the FP tree, the transaction should be based on the list L. It is not based on the chronological order now, because now we are constructing the FP tree here. And as you read the transaction, you keep on decrement the count of those items in the PC tree. So when we read all the transaction, when the reading of all the transaction is complete, then the count of all the items in the PC tree would be equal to 0. It means that we have read the complete PC tree and we are able to get all the transactions from the PC tree, and all those transactions we are able to insert into the FP tree. Now when you traverse the PC tree from the root, we always traverse the child link first. Once all the child pointers become 0, then we move on to the sibling link. Fine. This is the step. And as I told you, at the end, count of all the items would be 0. Let me take this same example because already we have FP tree with us for this example, right? This is the same table, same database you might be having with you already in your notes. Also, you can see that support count is given as 2, but I have told you to construct the PC tree, we are not at all using this support count. Once you construct the PC tree, from PC tree you construct FP tree, then we require the support count, but we don't require this for the purpose of construction of PC tree. Okay. To begin with, you should have all the items with the count as 0, right? And then what I told in the step is, first you need to arrange all the transactions in the chronological order. In this example database, you can see all the transactions are already in a order. So no need us to order again. Suppose if it would have been 215, then I should have ordered it as 125. Okay. But all the transactions are already in the ascending order. So we are not doing that step here because they are in the required format. And we are having 5 unique items here. This table contains all the item names and their initialized count value as equal to 0. Okay. Then we start constructing our PC tree. This is the root, and I'm just indicating it as T because it's the beginning of our PC tree. and I'm reading the transactions one by one. And I'm inserting that into the tree. What is the first item? First transaction, it is 1, 2, and 5, right? So item name is 1, count is 1. So below the root, we have the node with the item 1 and its count as 1. After that, we have its child pointer and sibling pointer, right? So you can see here, after 1, the next item is 2. So 2 is the child node of this item 1. So the child pointer of this node points to this node 2 and the sibling pointer right now it is null. Then after item 2 in the transaction we have the item 5. So what happens now? Item 5 becomes the child pointer of this 2. Its count is 1 and you can see the sibling pointer of all these nodes are null right now. And after 5 we don't have any other item in this transaction. So child pointer of this 5 is also null. Is this clear? This is the first and you can see this is the child pointer. And also please note that notation what we are using here for the PC tree. The vertical line we are using to represent the child pointer. Then we use the horizontal lines to represent the sibling pointers. Okay, this is a standard we are supposed to use. You cannot say that I did not add place. I meant this is a sibling pointer. I use the slant line. No. It is a convention which all of us are supposed to abide by. I repeat, child pointers represented by the vertical line, sibling pointer represented by the horizontal line. And in PC tree, a single node cannot have more than one child item represented directly by lines the way we used to have in FP tree. That's the reason we are using the sibling pointers here. Fine. Now you can see once we consider the first transaction, insert them into the PC tree. What happens? As we read, the count of these items should also change. As I read 1, this should change to 1. As I insert 2, this should change to 1. Similarly, when I read this 5, the count of 5 should be changed. You can see it. Okay. When I'm inserting, immediately I need to update these counts also. Okay. 1, 2, 5. Count of all the items are 0 initially. As and when you insert these items into the PC tree, remember to update this table also. Is this clear? Table is there. Arrange the transactions in the lexicographical order. In this example, they are in the order. Then have a table with all the unique items and their count initialized to 0. Consider each transaction, insert into the PC tree. As you insert, increment the respective count of their respective items. I've given a note here. Child pointer is vertical line, sibling pointer is horizontal line. Okay. So this is the first. I'll show you how to construct the PC tree. Again, like FP tree, as long as possible, you can manage with a single diagram. But if you think there is difficult to get the clarity or to show the clarity, then you can go for one more diagram from that particular stage. So now let me go to the second transaction. What is the second transaction? It is 2 and 4. So start from the root, check whether we have an item 2 below this root. There is no item below the root, right? It means we need to create a new node with the item as 2. Fine. Let me write here. Item name is 2 and its count is 1. This is the node. I am not showing the table here. Please increment the count of 2 in your table. Count of 2 becomes 2 now. Okay. I have created a new node 2. So who is the parent for this 2? Parent is T. Isn't it? Now there is already one child node for this T. It means that 1 and 2 are siblings. So 1 and 2 are the items which are having the same item as their parent node. So that's the reason we are calling them as the siblings. And the siblings, we are using the horizontal line to connect them. So this is the horizontal line. So again you can see here, this is vertical line we are using for child pointer, and the horizontal line we are using 2. Okay. Suppose if I write like this, then this is wrong. This is not at all acceptable in PC tree. Okay. One node will be having only one vertical line. None of the nodes will be having more than one vertical line, because we are having multiple child nodes, then we are connecting them by this sibling pointers. That's the reason we cannot have more than one vertical line for any given node in the PC tree, whereas FP tree we used to have it, whereas PC tree it is not allowed. Okay, hope it is clear now. We can see here 1 is a child pointer of the root. Similarly, 2 is also the child pointer. It's a child of this root, and hence 1 and 2 are the sibling items, and we are representing them like this in our tree. Okay. Now you can see here, after 2 we have the item 4. What is 4 now? 4 is the child of this item 2. Hence I am giving a vertical line, that's a child pointer for this item 2, and I'm creating a new node here, because below the item 2 we don't have a node with the item 4. So I'm creating a new node 4 with the count as 1. This is the child pointer. So please write down. I'm showing you, I'm also writing here so that you know how to construct the tree. Any doubts, anyone here? So now we are able to insert 2 transactions into our PCT, that is our pattern count tree. You cannot say that I was in a hurry, there was no time, so I wrote a line like this. No, it should be horizontal and the vertical lines. Only those 2 lines are allowed in PC tree. Okay, let us continue. This is our third transaction, 2, 3. So below root, observe here, we have the item 2. So no need to create one more node now. Okay, so we have 2, we need to simply increment its count, right? So I'll simply cut this one here, and I am writing its new count as 2 above here. You can use the pencil, you can simply cut this one, so that I am able to see both this 1 and 2. You cannot overwrite here when you are writing in your books. Okay, so this is our 2. So after 2, what is the child node of 2? After 2 we have item 3. It means 3 is a child of this item 2, right? So we need to create a child node 3 below these 2. Now if you observe, already there is one child node below 4. So we cannot have one more child directly. So now what happens? 3 becomes sibling of 4. So I am creating a new node with the item name 3 and the count as 1. You can see here I am using this horizontal line. 4 and 3 are siblings, because both 4 and 3 the parent is 2. You can see, right? 2, 4 and 2, 3. 2 is the parent for 4, 2 is the parent for 3. The items which are having the same parents are called as siblings, and we connect the siblings of a given parent by using this horizontal link. Again, I am telling you, I cannot write like this. This is not allowed in PC tree. Hope you are able to get this point. Okay. Anyone, any doubts now? Okay. So after 2, 3, let us move on to the next transaction, that is 1, 2 and 4, right? So again start from the root, check whether this item is present below the root. Yes, we have this item below the root. So no need to create a new node, simply increment the counter. So now you can see here, I'll just simply cut this count and I am writing its new count here. Okay, so 1. After 1, next is 2. So check below 1 whether we have an item with the item name as 2. Yes, we do have item 2 below 1 already existing, its child. So again, no need to create a new node. You can simply cut this one like this and you can write the new count. Fine. Please note that I am not showing the table, item table here. As and when you are incrementing the count, please update your table also. Okay. So 1, 2 and then 4. So check whether we have an item 4 below this 2. So below 2 we have one child node 5, which is not 4. So what happens now? We don't have 4, but already we have one child node below this 2. So now this 4 becomes sibling of this 5. Okay. So what am I doing now? 5. I'm using a horizontal line to connect it to its new sibling 4 with its count as 1. Okay. Item transaction is 1, 2, 4. 1, 2 and 4. You can see here we have 1, 2, 5. Here we have 1, 2, 4. So this 4 and this 5 are having the same parent 2. Hence they become the siblings, and siblings we are connecting using the horizontal line. Though there is a 4 here, we are not going to this. This is a different 4. Okay. We are traversing the transactions one by one and we are going through the same order as it is there. Fine. So 1, 2 and 4. So next transaction is 1, 3. Again it's the same procedure, it repeats. So below the root we have an item 1. So I simply cut this 2 here and I'll write 3 here. Okay. So after 1 we have 3. 3 is the child of this item 1. So below 1 I am not having the item 3, right? Already I have one child node 2. So what happens now? 3 becomes sibling of this item 2. So I'm creating a new node 3. I'm connecting it to 2 with the horizontal pointer. It is a 2 and 3 are sibling of this 1. Right? You can see 1 is a parent for this 3, 1 is a parent for this 2, 1 is a parent for this 2. So this 3 and 2 are siblings. So whenever we have siblings, we create the node, a new node, and connect the siblings by the horizontal line. So this is about 1 and 3. So after 1, 3, next transaction is 2, 3. Now you can see 2 is already present below the root. So simply increment its count from 2 to 3. Fine. So after 2 we have 3 here. You can see below 2 we have a child of 2 as 3 already. So again no need to create a new node. Cut this one and update its count to 2. So we inserted the sixth transaction 2, 3. So 2 is present below the root. So increment the count. 3 is present as a child node of 2. So increment its count. So after 2, 3 we have 1, 3. You can see below root we have 1. So cut the count, update the count of 1. Below 1 we have this 3. So update the count of this item 3. So 1 and 3. This is the 7th transaction. Fine. Then 8th transaction is 1, 2, 3, 5. So below the root we have 1. Again update the count of 1. After 1 we have 2. So below 1 we have the child node as 2. So increment its count. It becomes 3. So 1 and 2. Next item is 3. 3 is the child of this 2, right? If you see here below 2 we don't have the item or a node with the item 3. So 3 becomes sibling of these 2. And again, please note, we are moving from left to right always, okay, in the particular order. So this is 3 with the count 1. I cannot write 3 here because I don't have a place. I cannot write 3 to the left of 5. Please note this. Okay, we are inserting the transaction from left to right in a same order as they are appearing in our database. That's how we are able to get the unique PC tree. Okay, please note, again I'm repeating, I cannot connect this 3 here. Okay, because if that is the, suppose if you are written 2 here initially, and if you are not having any space to insert 3, then you can write one more diagram, 1 with count 5, then 2 with 3, all the things you can update it count you can write, and then you can insert this 3 here. Okay, so it's up to you how you are going to manage. Either you can write one single diagram or you can also give multiple diagram, but all the steps should be visible to us. So just because you have 2 here, you don't have place here, you cannot write 3 to the left of this 5. So this is 1, 2, 3 and 5, right? 1, 2, then 3. Please note this 3 and this 3 is different now. This 3 is the sibling of this 2, whereas this 3 is child of this 2. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 5. So 1, 2, 3 and 5. So what is 5 now? 5 is the child node of this item 3. So below 3 we don't have a child node. So create a new node 5 and its count as 1. So this is 1, 2, 3, 5. Last transaction 1, 2, 3. So we have 1 here. I'm incrementing the count of 1. Below 1, I'm having 2 here. So I'm incrementing the count of 2. Below 2, I have 3 here. So I'm incrementing the count of these 3. Please observe. In a hurry, you might increment the count of these 2 because it is with 2, right? No. This is child of 2. 1, 2, 3. That's the reason we are using this notation, vertical and horizontal. Suppose if you write like this, then you are not able to differentiate between the child node and the sibling node, isn't it? Because sibling node they have to be at the same level because they are the sibling. Parent of them is the same. That's the reason we are using this horizontal line everywhere to connect the siblings. So now this is our PC tree. So any doubts, anyone, how to construct the PC tree? Okay. So this is the complete PC tree, and this is our table with the items and their count, right? So from this transaction, we have this PC tree, and whenever we are reading any of the items, correspondingly, we are also supposed to increment the table, and this is our final PC tree with the count of individual item. So now you can see all these transactions are there in my PC tree. So hence it is complete and it is compact. Okay. This is the first one. Construction of PC tree is done. Now we are using this PC tree to find the frequent pattern. So to find the frequent pattern, we are supposed to construct FP tree using the PC tree. Okay. So how to do that? As I told you, if you can just check your steps. Okay. So first we need to read the PC tree to get back all the transactions. Why? Because we have read the transaction, the database once in the beginning. So again, we are not reading the transaction. Again, we are not reading the database because this algorithm ensures that we are reading the database only once. So already we read our database once. and using that we have the PC tree. Now to construct FP tree, again we require the transaction, isn't it? So without the transactions, it is not possible for us to construct the FP tree. So where do we get the transactions? It is by this PC tree. I read the PC tree. I traverse the PC tree one by one. First, the child link, then the sibling link. While traversing, we would be getting the transaction. So please note here, observe what I am doing. Now, I start with the root and I follow all the child pointers. Okay. So first item is 1 here. So now we need to reduce the count. Okay. So I'm reducing the count now 5 and I'm writing the first item 1. Okay. I'm starting from the root, traverse the child link. So below root, the first child is 1. I'm writing that 1 here and I'm reducing its count from 6 to 5. Then move on, go to the child node of this 1. This is a child pointer. Follow the child pointer. We have this item 2. So after 1, comma 2, I'm writing down 2 here and then I'm reducing the count of this item 2. Okay. Then follow the child pointer. So 2 child pointer, it is showing the item as 5. So in the transactions, I'm writing the item as 5 here and then I'm reducing its count by 1, it is 0. Next child pointer. So the child pointer of 5 is null because 5 is not having any child pointer. Its child pointer is showing the null. It means I'm able to read one transaction 1 to 5, right? You can see the transaction in the table. I'm able to get the transaction by my PC tree, which is in my memory. Fine, I'm not reading from the database. Is it fine? Okay. Next, again start from the root, again traverse. So below the root, I have 1, decrement the count and write the next transaction. Next transaction here it is 1. Again follow the child pointer of 1. It is 2. So decrement its count 2. Again write the 2 here. Follow the child pointer of 2. You can, this is 0, right? Because it is 0, now traverse the next sibling because it is also the child of this. Okay. Now once this is 0, you follow its sibling link because siblings are also child of the same parent. Now we have 4 here. So I'll reduce the count and I'm writing 4 here. Okay. So after 4, go for the child node of 4. So there is no child node for 4 and its count is 0. It means I need to stop here because I am able to get one particular transaction 1, 2, 4. Please note that the second transaction here is 2, 4. Here it is different. Okay. After reading the PC tree, we would be getting back all our transactions, but may not be in the same order, may not be in the original order as they appear in our original database, but we will be getting all our transactions back. So now we are able to get this 1, 2, 4. Again go back to the root, again traverse the child link. So again we have item 1 with a count 4 to reduce the count, write the item. So child pointer of 1 is 2, reduce the count and write down the item here. After 2, go to its child pointer, this is 0. So next its sibling, the count is 0. Next go to its sibling is 3. So reduce the count, it is 1. Now you write down here it as 3. Then go to the child pointer of this 3. Child pointer is showing the item 5. So reduce the count and then write the item 5. Child pointer of 5, it is none. There are no child pointer. Its count is 0. It means we read the one more transaction. We're able to get back one more transaction. Again, it's a repetition. Again, go back to the root node. So item 1 we have, count is 3, reduce the count and write the item. Follow the child pointer, item is 2, reduce the count, it becomes 0 and then write down here as 2. Go to the child pointer 0, go to its sibling, it is 0, go to its sibling 3 with a count 1. So reduce the count, it becomes 0, then write the item name, go to its child, it is null 0. So we have to stop. We're able to get one more transaction 1, 2, 3. Fine. Now again, go back to the root node, child pointer, item 1, reduce its count and write the item 1. So go to the child pointer, child node is 2 but its count is 0. So now traverse its sibling link. Fine. So sibling is 3 with a count 2, reduce the count and write the item name 1. Go to its child pointer is not there, so we are stopping here. Again go to the root, traverse the child, decrement the count. Again we have item 1 with us. Below item 1, child pointer 2, its count is 0. So go to its sibling. Sibling is 3 with the count 1. Reduce its count and then write the item 3 here. So 3, there are no child pointers. Stop here. Again go back to the root, follow the child pointer. Now you can see this item value is 0. So you can see when this becomes 0, all its child, all its siblings, you can see everything in this path has become 0 here. So now since the child pointer, its value is 0, now you go to the sibling of this item. So sibling is 2 here. So decrement the count, it becomes 2 and write this item. This item is 2, right? This is below the root, so this is 2. Follow the child pointer. Child pointer is pointing to the item 1 here. Decrement the count and write the item name. This is 2. 4 is not having any child, so stop here. Again start from the root. Child node it is 0. Go to the next sibling. Decrement its count and then write the items. Follow the child pointer. You can see the child pointer, the value is 0. Go to its sibling. Sibling is 3 here. Decrement the count and then write the item. There are no child pointers for this item. Stop here. Again go back to your root. Go to the child node. Child node is 0. Go to sibling. Sibling the count is 1. Reduce the count and then write the item 2. Follow its child pointer, it is 4, 0. Go to its sibling, reduce the count to 0, then write the item. There is no child node for this, you stop here. Again go to the root node, child node 0, go to sibling 0. It is not having any sibling, you stop here. Now you can see we are able to get back all our 9 transactions. So you can see first one is 1 to 5. This we are able to get. Next is 1 to 4. So second we got this. Then 1 2 3 5. We're able to get this transaction. Next we have 1 2 3. So our 1 2 3 is here. Then we have 1 3 twice, right? So we have this 1 3 here. Then we have 1 3 here. Then we are able to get 2 4. 2 4 is here. Then 2 3 2 3 twice. So this is 2 3 and this is 2 3. You can see all these transactions we are able to get by reading, traversing our PCT. Start from the root, traverse all the child link and then to the corresponding sibling. You can see without reading the actual database, just by traversing this PC tree, we're able to get all our transactions. So any doubts how to get back these transactions? So please do this on your own once. You'll understand this. Okay. That's the reason I have shown you each step. I'm writing you here. What next? We have all the transactions with us. We have the item with the respective count. Now we can construct FP3, isn't it? So what are we supposed to do for FP3? First is create the list L from this, arrange the items based on the descending support, and also look for the support count. Support count is 2 here. So all these items will be present in our list L. Also, what is list L? It is 2, then 1, then 3, 4 and 5, right? So create a list L from these, and then these items you need to arrange them based on the list L, because now we are constructing the FP tree, and from here onwards the procedure is same whatever we have discussed so far in the previous 2 classes, that is how to create the FP tree. Okay, you can see it, I have given here. So this is the list L based on the descending order of the items, and these are our items, the transactions, whatever written, right? We read the PC3 and this is the order in which we are able to get back our transactions. Now these transactions we are supposed to arrange based on the list L. I'll arrange them, right? This is what we do in the FP3. So we have the items, create a table list L, based on list L, arrange all the items. That is done. Then as usual, create a item header table. We have all these items as given in the list L, their respective support count, right? And then create a root node with null. Start with this first item, transaction is 215. So we have 2 here, then we have 1 here, then we have 5 here. So rest you can do, right? I'll show you one more thing. The second transaction is 214. So this is FP tree. So 214, 2 is already here. So increment its count. After 2, we have 1 here. So below 2, we have item 1 already. So increment it. Below 1, we should have 4. You can see there is no 4 right now. So create a new node with the item 4 and its count as 1, and 1 is the parent of this 4, and because 4 is appearing for the first time in the FP tree, we need to connect from header table to this node 4. This is what we do in FP tree, is it not? So please observe here how PC tree is different from this. Okay, here you can see one node can have multiple child nodes. So one node can have multiple links to its child, whereas in PC tree, only one vertical node for a given node. Any other child nodes we need to represent using the horizontal line. That's why there the sibling concept is there, whereas FP tree sibling concept is not there. Okay, so 2, 1, 4. Next we have 2, 1, 3, 5. So again we have 2 here, increment the count of 2. Below 2 we have 1, increment the count of 1. Then there is a 3 here, we don't have item 3. So create the item 3, right, with its count as 1. So below 1 we have 3, and 3 is appearing for the first time in the FP tree. So horizontal link node from header table to the item 3, right? Then 2, 1, 3, 5. So below 3, create a new node 5. New node 5 with its count initialized to 1, and from here we have a horizontal dashed line. So please remember the notation FP3 we're using the dashed line for the siblings of the same item, and vertical or the slant line to represent the parent and the child node. And also we are writing the same item in the same level, whereas PC3 it need not be so, but at FP3 it should be in the same level, otherwise it is difficult to read the FP3. I cannot write 5 here or here somewhere, okay? It should be in the same level. Similarly, you can insert all these items, you will be getting a FP3. So once you get your FP3, other procedure is same. Consider the FP header table of this FP3. Consider the last item. Constructs is conditional pattern base. From the conditional pattern base, construct its conditional FP3. From the conditional FP3, generate all possible frequent patterns. That's how we are able to, finally we are able to get all the frequent patterns by reading the database only once. Fine. So once you are able to construct the PC3, read the PC3 to get the transaction, and from then we construct the FP3. So from once we have the table, once we have PC3, once we are able to get all the transactions from our PC3, then constructing the FP3 is not a new thing, it's the same as we have done previously. Any doubts you can ask me. This is the exercise problem. You can take down this. If you have any doubts, you can ask me now. I'm just showing you the first step. Remaining you please do on your own. Again, in this transaction also you can observe that all the transactions are already in the lexicographical order. They are in the ascending order. So no need for us to reorder them. Okay. That you should be very careful. If the order is not there, you need to order them first and then you need to insert. Suppose if you forget that ordering and if you insert and whatever you do after that, you cannot claim any marks. Marks will be given for whatever is written correctly, right? Marks cannot be given for the errors or the mistakes. So minimum support is given as 20%. It means you need to calculate what is the actual minimum support count. If it is 20%, what is the support count for 15 transactions? And one more thing remember is minimum support we are not using. It is not useful while constructing the PC tree. It's used only when you are constructing FP tree. You can note down the database and the minimum support. Remaining things you can do later on your own. And all the algorithm we are learning the basic version. So for all the algorithm there are many improvised versions. There are many optimized versions. Okay. You cannot say that I am optimizing and improving. No, because we are discussing the base version, we are expecting you also to solve using the base algorithm itself. And FP3 and PC3, if you have any doubts, you have any issues, you can ask me before the next class. Again, as usual, I told you I'll be logging in 15 minutes before. to the actual timings of the class. You can log in before 15 minutes and you can ask me the doubt, or after the class also you can ask the doubts if any. But before that you should study, you should put your effort, you should try to solve on your own once. So that's about our algorithms. Okay, so a priori we are referring from the Hanen-Camber, because the same algorithm may be there in many books. As I told in the beginning, again I am repeating, we are following the textbook which are given in our syllabus. Okay, so a priori you need to refer to Hanen-Camber. Then partitioning, you can refer to Arun Pujari only for the concepts. Algorithm, you please refer whatever I have given you in the class. And for tracing also, don't refer Arun Pujari. Arun Pujari, you can refer for partition algorithm, then DIC algorithm, and then pincer search algorithm only for the concepts. And algorithm and the tracing, you need to follow whatever we have done in our regular class. There are certain mistakes in the textbook in the algorithm are corrected and are given to you in my regular class, right? Then FP3 again from Hanen-Camber. Then PC3, it is not available in both the textbooks. I'll upload the paper of PC3, and also for Pincer Search DSA also uploaded the base paper for your reference. Okay, and I've taken more than one class for each of the algorithm textbook. You can see 1 or 2 pages, but we have spent more time on these algorithms so that you should understand. Okay, so you need to read the textbook. You can refer the base paper also, and any doubts you can ask me, but don't keep your doubts pending till your assignments, tests, or exams. I want you to study regularly. Over.
Yes, ma'am.
Just the next transfer I'm showing you, right? So this is 2, 4, 8. Below root node, there is no 2, hence 2 becomes the sibling of this 1. Then 4 is child of 2, 8 is child of 4. So similarly, you need to insert these transactions one by one to get your PC tree. Okay. Also remember, in this example, you might get certain items which are less than the threshold. So those items would be there in the PC tree, but those items should not be present in your FP tree. That you should be very careful. This is the complete PC tree. This is how it looks like. If you want, you can take down this and you try to construct PC tree on your own, and then you may compare your answer with this diagram. Please note down if it is, because initially when the transactions are more, we don't know how much space is required. Okay, in between, if you are not having any enough, for example, after 2, if you written 4 here, you might not be having enough space to show 3 and 6, so you cannot show 6 here. Okay, you write one more diagram, whatever you have written up to here with the updated counts, represent one more diagram, and then you can continue. Okay, because initially we will not be knowing how much of space we require, how much of space we need to have between two nodes, that will not be knowing. In that case, you might have to draw more than one diagram. As long as you able to manage, you are able to show the steps of algorithm, clarity is there, then you manage. Whenever you feel there is no space or not enough space, then you please go for another diagram. So another diagram means whatever you have shown in one diagram, with the updated counts, you draw one diagram. No need to draw everything from the beginning. Updated one with the updated count. And then you can use that updated count to increment if required while you add the remaining transactions. Also, by looking into your first assignment, it is very clear there are certain groups in your class. Collaboration with friends is good, but it is good if you collaborate and study regularly, not during writing, while writing your assignments, quiz or the exams. One is doing some typo, same typo is there with many. It means it cannot be in practice, it's not acceptable, right? One person is doing some typo, many cannot do the same mistake or same typos. Of course, we can prove that you are copied and we can make 0, but we are not going for that kind of level. Whatever you written for that, we are giving the marks. On top of that, please don't come and ask for more marks. Please try to be honest, be a professional. You might be getting some marks, you might be getting your grades, or you might improve your GPA, CGPA, whatever it is. But in the long run, it is you who would be suffering, and that is our concern. Now you may not realize. If you think that somebody is your friend, because anyway it's an open book, right? Whatever the quiz you are, it's online. You have your notes to refer, you have your textbook with you, you have your recordings with you, you have your Google with you. At least put your effort to look into and solve. You wait till your friend posts the answer and then you say your network issues. It is not acceptable. Because quiz, assignment, exam, we have given enough time for you to upload, and this already had informed to you. Okay. So it's of no use if you try to contact us over the phone or mail for your any kind of the issues. Because then 15 minutes are there. If Wi-Fi is not there, power might go off. It may be so. We don't deny that fact. So you should be ready with your mobile, right? 15 minutes you can use your mobile data. You can hotspot. You should be ready for that. And for the assignment, it is not 100 pages you are writing, 1 or 2 papers. So it should not take more than 15 minutes under any circumstances. Anyway, let me stop here. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Otherwise, you may leave the team. But please note that please you need to practice FP. Unless and until you practice, it is not possible for you to understand. Okay, if you again don't stop for only 1 or 2 problems. You can have your own problems. You can create some database with small item set, with few item sets and a small number of transactions. You can trace on your own. The more you trace, the more you solve, you're going to pick up your speed. First time if you try to solve, it's a time consuming process for any algorithm. If you practice at least 2 to 4 problems for all the algorithms, then it should not be an issue for you during your exams and sessionals. Okay. Yeah. If you have doubts, you can ask me.